What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to another Swift video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at how to stylize your text in your labels with attributed strings. So here we've got a label with a few things going on. So first, obviously the colors are different. We have a custom letter spacing applied here, so you can see it's wider. And we're still using the system font, so it's not like a custom font. We have world being bold here. We've got the underline going on. So we're going to take a look at how to apply each of these styles and then how you can extend this to add your own styles and really make your text and app look and feel exactly how you envisioned it. So that said, make sure you destroy the like button as always. Helps out with video engagement quite a bit. If you're a returning viewer and haven't subscribed, hit that button while you are at it. Get Xcode ready, get excited, let's talk about some custom text. Quick pause before we get into the video. If you haven't seen it already, I am hard at work putting together iOSacademy.io, a community where all of us iOS engineers can come together, learn how to build some of the top apps like Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, in addition to interview prep to land some of these iOS roles at top tech companies. So if you're interested in the free and premium content to come, head on over to iOSacademy.io and enter your email address in the waitlist form, and you will be notified as content becomes available. That said, let's get into the video. All right, let's begin by opening up Xcode and creating a new project. We're going to stick with the app template here, and let's go ahead and call this custom font. Make sure your language is Swift, of course, your interface storyboard, and your lifecycle is UI kit. Go ahead and continue, and we'll save it to our desktop. And first things first, let's select a simulator from this list here. I'll stick with the 12 Pro Max, since I think that's the one I've got open here already, and hit that run button to build and run. And while it's doing that, let me expand my Xcode window to give ourselves a little more room to work here. And we're going to be working entirely in the view controller. So let's head on over into that file. And let me bump up the font size so y'all can see everything. And let's talk about some custom text. So obviously to display any text, we need to have a label or a text view of some sort. So let's get started by creating a label here. Let me actually just create it in a separate function. We're going to say create label. And let me go ahead and define this function right down here. And this is going to be a pretty standard UI label. And we're going to give it a frame of 0, 0, 300 by 100. I'm going to go ahead and add it as a subview. We're going to say the text of this guy equals hello world. And let's go ahead and also center the text. So we're going to say label.text alignment is going to be centered. And then finally, we're going to center the actual label frame itself. So we're going to say label.frame is view.center. Go ahead and run, and you should see a fairly basic label now. Let's see what we got going on. We want this to be center as well. And you should see hello world just like that. So let's actually bump up the font size. That's the first thing we're going to do. So we're going to say the label.font equals system font of size 42. Go ahead and build and run, and you'll see it's bigger now. Now let's get to the attributed string part of the video, which is really the interesting stuff. So you'll notice here that we've assigned, let me actually line break this to make it cleaner. You'll notice here that we've assigned the labels text property. Now, there's actually another property that's available to us, and it's called attributed text. And if you take a look at the description here, it's the styled text displayed in the label. The key difference being that attributed text can be styled. So let's see how we can make this. So if we try to assign it to a string directly, it's going to complain at us because this is not an attributed string type. So we're going to go ahead and grab this. And I'm just going to create a string up here. Let's go ahead and create this attributed string business. So we're going to say let's attributed, let's call it attributed text, is going to be ns mutable attributed string, passing in a string, which is a standard string. So the first thing you'll notice off the bat is that this type comes from the Objective-C classes, and it's still prefixed ns for next step, for those of you familiar with Objective-C and all that goodness. We also want it to be mutable, so we can go ahead and add different attributes. So there is a type without the mutable version, but in this case, you can't actually go ahead and add attributes afterwards. So a little bit of a nuance, make sure you make the type mutable. And we can go ahead and assign the attributed text to this guy now. Also, let's go ahead and run it and let's see what it looks like. You'll notice it looks exactly the same. We still have our font being applied. Framing is the same. Now let's actually change that stuff up. So we're going to say attributed text, and we're going to add an attribute with a value and range. So there's a variety of attributes you can control. We're going to take a look at 3 of them, and then I'll also jump into the reference so you guys can see what else we can do. So the first thing we're going to do is the foreground color. And this is going to be UI color, and we're going to stick with a system blue. And the range is basically to which part of the string do we want to apply this attribute. So this is really the powerful part, I would say, of an attributed string, where you don't have to style the whole string. So if we only wanted to style the word hello, we could do that. And the way we would do that is we would create one of these ranges with a location and length. And we would start out at 0, and let's say we want to style the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters. We would go ahead and say 5 there. Go ahead and build and run. And you'll notice now that hello is in blue. So looking cool, looking cool. So let's go ahead and add another attribute. And let me actually line break this as well to make it a little cleaner. So the next attribute we're going to add is going to be something called kern. So I'm going to copy and paste this, and you guys probably, most of you, probably haven't heard of the term kern. It's a pretty nitty-gritty term, but it basically is the spacing between the characters of your string. So let's take a look at what that looks like before I change it. We can see that it's using the default spacing between each of these letters. We're going to go ahead and add a custom value to this. So if you've ever seen apps that really have like spread out text and you like the way it looks, this is how they're achieving it. So we're going to give it a kern value of 2. And in this case, we're going to want to apply this to a range of the entire string. So here I'm going to say string.count, which is going to be the length of the string. And now you'll notice that it is actually wider. Let me actually bump up this value a little bit more so it's more obvious. And the way that I knew it was an NS number, the value that I expected, is by just looking at the reference. But now you can tell clearly that this is much wider than what it was before. Maybe I can put another variant of the string below it, but let's go ahead and make this like 0.2, and you'll see that it'll be much more kind of smushed together, just like that. So let's go ahead and make this 4 again, or a higher number. Maybe we'll stick with 6. Like that. And let's go ahead and make world bold. So that brings us to another attribute. And in this case, what we can go ahead and say is we want to control the font. And all we're going to do in here is pass in a given font. And you'll notice originally the string is system font of size 42. We're going to use the same size, but we're going to assign a different weight to it. So we're going to say system font of size and weight 42, and I'm going to stick with semi-bold. And in this case, the range, we want to skip the word hello. So we're going to say 5, and it's string.count minus 5. And I think that should do it for us. And now you'll notice the world is bolded. So these are the 3 attributes that I wanted to go over. Let's click into this dot foreground, and let's see what other attributes are in here. Maybe we'll do 1 or 2 more if we see anything interesting. But so there's something called paragraph style, which ultimately controls how your line break is and your line spacing. There's background color, ligature, no idea what the heck this is. So it tells you what the default is and what the value it expects in the comment here. And it actually also tells you what the default in this case is too. It's no ligature. I have no idea what the heck this is. You might have to look it up. There's tracking, there's strike through style, which is like a dash, underline style, which is pretty cool. So let's see. Underline style default value it says is 0, which is no underline. Let's add an underline. Never actually added one of those before, so let's go and add an underline. We're going to copy and paste this foreground color one, and we're going to stick with underline style, and it says that it's an NS number, and it defaults to 0, I think. So let's just make it 1, and let's see if that underlines it. Look at that, it does. So point being, go through this reference here, and if you want your text to look exactly like a spec for work or a project or your own app or whatever it may be, there's tons of properties in here that you can look through. There's patterns and dashes and you name it, they've got it. So that's really it for this video. Definitely spend time and tweak your designs to make it look the way you want. You know, it really adds value to the final product, and you know, people notice. Users definitely notice, and it brings your app to life. So that said, make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already. Hit that like button as well if you haven't done that already either. Comment down below if you use attributed strings. Do you style your strings? Do you spend time on it? Do you kind of cut corners just to build like an MVP first? Love hearing from you guys. Let me also know down below if you have any questions, feedback, video suggestions. I'm still working on my TikTok course. I'm nearing completion of it. I'm super excited for it. So get excited for that. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video.